Cervical screening, Women's Voices, has been made to provide smear takers with an insight into the woman's experience of cervical screening. The comments which you will hear read by actors have been compiled from letters, emails and feedback received by Cervical Check from women. The issues chosen are both genuine and important.
Your letter urging me to take up the offer came at a time when I knew I was well overdue a smear, but trying hard to avoid one. I had seen your ads, but was burying my head in the sand. It was only when I received a letter from you to me personally, and I read your leaflet, that it got me to go. Well, you know the rest of the story. I have no doubt it saved my life. 1,000 thanks. The campaign is working.
It was over quickly. I don't know why I dreaded it. The best thing about it was that the whole thing was explained well beforehand and they answered all my questions. To be honest with you, I never really understood before what smear tests were all about.
I was in for something else, and the doctor asked me was I up to date with my smears. I wasn't. So there and then I made an appointment to have a smear test. I thought you had to get a letter, and I hadn't yet received one. So I'm really glad he made a point of asking me that.
My mother didn't have a smear test in 30 years. It was only because she received a reminder letter from you that she went for a test. It came back as abnormal. They found she had cervical cancer at the colposcopy clinic. Thankfully, it was picked up at an early stage, and after an operation, all cancer was removed. I would like to especially thank your screening programme for its professionalism in tracking women who, like my mother, may otherwise have fallen through the net.
I received a letter from you asking me to go for a smear test. The thing is, I don't know if I need one. And I'm embarrassed to ask my doctor. I thought you had to be married or have had a baby to need one. Can you advise me?
I felt very safe when I was having the smear test because the nurse locked the door while she was taking the test. This may not sound like a big deal, but it was to me.
Recently, I attended my GP's practice for a smear test. During the test, I was left undressed and uncovered while the doctor took a telephone call. The call lasted for at least 5 minutes. When she had finished the call, she then left the room to look for equipment that she needed for the test. This experience left me feeling very vulnerable and exposed. It was also physically very uncomfortable, especially as the room was cold.
When I got my result and it needed repeating because it was slightly abnormal, I was very upset. I asked my doctor if there was anything I could do, and she said to stop smoking because it can help your body's immune system to clear the HPV virus. That's the virus that's causing the abnormal cells in my cervix. I haven't smoked since, and I will regularly go for smear tests now.
Thank you for your letter inviting me to go for a smear test. I was sexually abused when I was a young child, and I was very nervous about going for the test for obvious reasons. I'd put it off for years because of my fear. I'm writing to tell you that I should not have waited so long. I found the smear taker very caring and supportive. I was able to get through this very difficult experience because I was treated with dignity, respect and patience.
I would like to say that I was very happy to learn that your programme allows you to choose your smear taker and that it doesn't have to be your own doctor. I am very happy with my male general practitioner for all my other care, but appreciate that I can have my smear test taken by a female smear taker in another practice, if I prefer to.
The doctor said I was making things difficult for myself because I wasn't relaxed enough. I was very nervous and anxious. I'm writing to tell you about my recent experience in having a smear test at my local GP's practice, considering I couldn't manage this small test. These comments really upset me.
Recently, I had a smear test, which was done very professionally. But I would like to question why the nurse who took the test had to use so much jargon when giving me the results. My test result was mildly abnormal, and she said I had ascus, but didn't explain what that meant. She said it wasn't as bad as sin. Can you explain this test result to me, as she did not give me time to understand this? I'm afraid I may have cancer.
I was very happy that when I went to have my smear taken, I was given an information sheet in my own language to explain what the test was for and what cervical check is all about.
I write on behalf of my sister, who has received a letter from you inviting her for a smear test. She has a mild intellectual disability and would not be able to understand what a smear test is for. What should we do?
I don't like to complain because I think by and large they run a good show in my local practice, but I would like to let you know one thing. I went for a smear test last week, and during the test the nurse made a personal comment about my size and how small I was down there. Doctors and nurses need to be careful about making inappropriate comments that could turn women off going for smear tests.
I would like you to tell your doctors and nurses that when they ask a woman to sign the consent form when she goes for a smear, that it should be clearly explained what they are consenting to. The purpose for this consent was not made clear to me at the time, and afterwards I questioned it with the cervical check office. They told me that giving consent allows cervical check to receive, hold and use my personal details and information about my smear test sample and pass it on to the laboratory and colposcopy if needed. It's not consent for research or anything to do with storing your DNA.
I have recently moved to Ireland from the Sudan. In my country, we have female cuttings. Because of this, I have problems in my female area. I've just been asked to come for a smear test. What should I do?
I got a fright when I got a letter from Cervical Check to say my smear test was unsatisfactory and that I need to have another one done in 3 months' time. I wish it could have been explained to me at the time the test was taken that some smear tests cannot be read in the lab and are rejected. It would have saved me a lot of worry, as I was thinking it meant there was something really wrong with me.
Just a quick note to say that I recently experienced your screening programme and was extremely impressed by the very efficient notification process, the content and tone of the correspondence and the complete start to finish communication. Thank you.